Hey guys, what's going on? James here. Welcome to the inaugural episode of kind of what is a weekly roundup of sorts, just for the general NFL, where I kind of go over a few of the major NFL news stories that are going on for the past 7 days and kind of talk about a few of them. You know, it's probably either going to be 4, 5, something along those lines. But I'm always going to have one for the NFC South just to keep you guys updated on what's going on in the Buccaneers division. And then I'm going to try and bounce around to other parts of the league. So let's get started with something that's actually pretty interesting. It is a Julio Jones holdout. So talking about Julio Jones holdout, now Jones has decided to hold out on a mandatory minicamp that is being held for the Atlanta Falcons. It's only a 3-day minicamp, but it is a very big deal. And the reason because of this happening is because Jones wants a new contract. The Atlanta Falcons just recently re-signed Matt Ryan to a huge extension, making him the highest paid quarterback in the league, I believe. So now Jones wants his extension. He has 3 years remaining currently on his deal with the Falcons. That'll pay him $10.5 million in 2018, which you could say is criminally underpaid for what is arguably the best wide receiver in the league. It's probably either going to be him or Antonio Brown at this point. At this point in the league, it's either going to be Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. So you can kind of understand why he wants a new contract and wants more money, because in his mind, and probably in the minds of a lot of people, he deserves that money. And the general managers have had talks with Julio Jones and his agents, and they have been healthy, but obviously not much progress has been made. Now, currently, the Atlanta Falcons have around $7.2 million in cap space to try and work out a deal for Jones before the season officially begins. I don't know if this holdout, I guess you could say, would translate into possibly missing regular season games, because eventually Jones will be subject to fines the more he does not show up for mandatory work. So I'm very interested to see whether or not this will just be a situation where he'll just miss camp. You know, he'll miss mandatory minicamp, and he'll probably miss some other minicamps that the Falcons are having. But I'm also interested to see whether or not this is going to bleed out into regular season games, because that would be very effective, in a very effective way for Jones to get a new contract. Let's say he's out the first 4 weeks of the year. That's a pretty big deal. Obviously, I don't know if Jones wants to take the financial hits that would come with that because they would get more and more severe as time goes on. But it is, I suppose, something to consider, because maybe in Julio Jones' mind, he's thinking, yeah, I'm not going to be able, I will be taking a very big financial hit, but I'm going to be making all that money back with a new contract anyway, so it's not that big a deal. Or maybe he'll just kind of accept it and take his $10 million salary, kind of play the good guy in this situation, kind of say, okay, if you guys can promise me that you'll give me a better contract extension, then I will come back and I will play out through the majority of the season. But moving on from Atlanta all the way up to New England, we have Julian Edelman, who is facing a 4-game suspension due to PEDs, otherwise known as performance-enhancing drugs. Now, like I said, Edelman is facing a 4-game suspension to start the season due to a failed drug test of performance-enhancing drugs. Now, Edelman is appealing this suspension, and it was quoted as saying that he didn't know what happened regarding the failed drug test. And this is pretty interesting, because there's always this controversy surrounding New England, be it cheating for certain situations or certain players acting certain ways. There's been a lot of controversy this past season with regards to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Rob Gronkowski, and Robert Kraft, just to name a couple of situations. And now we have this Edelman situation, and it doesn't help under any circumstances, considering that if this suspension holds, Edelman will miss games against the Texans, the Jaguars, the Lions, and the Dolphins right after a season where he missed the entirety of it due to a torn ACL. Now, like I said, having Julian Edelman out for, a fourth of the season might not seem too bad if you're maybe a New England fan, because, well, we didn't have him all last season, and we made it all the way to the Super Bowl, so being without him another 4 games will be fine. But keep in mind, this would end up being a very major loss for New England's receiving game, due to the fact that they have recently traded away Brandon Cooks to the Los Angeles Rams, and they lost Danny Amendola in free agency to the Miami Dolphins. So now you have guys like Philip Dorsett, Kenny Britton, Chris Hogan as the leading men in your receiving core with Rob Gronkowski if this Julian Edelman suspension stands. And that's not even to mention the rumors of Rob Gronkowski possibly getting traded. There was a rumor talked about earlier on this week where Rob Gronkowski was maybe about to be getting traded. There were a couple of offers on the table, and Tom Brady said, if that happens, I retire. And then Robert Kraft said, okay, we're not doing this. And so there's just all this controversy swirling around the New England Patriots right now. It'll be very interesting to see if Edelman's suspension does stick or not. If it does, I never doubt the Patriots anymore because they're the New England Patriots, but it will be interesting to see who will step up for that receiving game, given guys like Kenny Britt, Chris Hogan, and Philip Dorsett, like I mentioned, or maybe we'll see somebody new flourish in this new set of wide receivers for New England. It'll be very interesting to see. Now, moving on to a little bit of extension news here with Duke Johnson of the Cleveland Browns and Zach Martin of the Dallas Cowboys getting deals. Duke Johnson has signed a 3-year, $15 million deal to stay with the Cleveland Browns. And this is very interesting because if you look at Cleveland's backfield, there's a lot of investment in it. You have Duke Johnson, who has signed a 3-year, $15 million deal to stay with Cleveland. You have Carlos Hyde, who is getting arguably starting running back money to be a part of this team for the next few years. And you also have Nick Chubb, who you drafted in the second round of this past NFL draft. So it's a very interesting committee, a very invested committee at that. I don't know if it's because they're going to take the pressure off of guys like Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield, or if it's just because they want to accumulate as much good players as they can. Who knows? Maybe they'll end up trading Carlos Hyde or Duke Johnson later on this season to maybe give Nick Chubb a little bit more of an opportunity to be good. But honestly, whoever it is going to be at quarterback, be it Tyrod Taylor or Baker Mayfield, they're going to have a good set of running backs to help them out regardless of which one of them is starting. And then Zach Martin and the Dallas Cowboys are close on a deal that will make him the highest paid guard in the league, and in my opinion it is very well deserved. Zach Martin has been an anchor for this Cowboys offensive line for years now, and he figures to be a big part of them moving forward with the team, and he's always rated as one of the best guards in the league, if not the best guard in the league. So I feel this money is more than deserved, and I'm very interested to see where they're going to put, if the Cowboys are going to focus on putting this money into this offensive line and how that will affect the passing game, because I think Dak Prescott just recently came out and said that he doesn't really need a number one wide receiver after the release of Dez Bryant. So I'm interested to see if that theory is going to work, whereas if you're going to have such a good offensive line for so many years that you can just spread the ball around and have a good running game, and that'll make up for a lack of a true number one wide receiver. It'll be a very interesting development to see, just especially in this upcoming season. And then finally, I want to touch up a little bit on the NFL Top 100 list that has currently been going on NFL.com, and I want to explain to you guys a little bit of what it is, because maybe not so many people know what this list is, and I'm sure a lot of people who have their favorite teams are saying that, oh, this player's getting snubbed, I know that player's getting snubbed. I know for the Buccaneers, and I know this for a fact, okay, a lot of Bucs players, more Bucs players should have been on this list. Gerald McCoy, Mike Evans, Levante David, just to name those three at least 100% should have been on the list. So the NFL Top 100 is a list that is submitted by the players during around the month of late-ish November. That's why you see guys who were very hot during that point in the season, guys like your Case Keenums and your guys like Cam Newton and stuff like that. They're kind of up higher on the list, and Kirk Cousins and stuff like that. They're higher up on the list because they were able to have very good stretches during that part. Like guys like Deshaun Watson as well were so high up because during that time, right before Deshaun Watson got injured, he was just having a phenomenal stretch of that year. So it could definitely be a possibility of where NFL players are just kind of minimizing what should be a full season's length worth of review to just maybe a month or two's worth of review in their minds. It's like, okay, well, Deshaun Watson had a very good 2-month stretch. We're going to put him high up on our lists because we liked how he was for 2 months, rather than, oh, well, he didn't have he had an okay season. Well, he had a good season overall, but maybe not worth getting into the top 100 for. It's just something to consider. Maybe they shorten their range of review when doing this list, the players, that is. Now, I know a lot of players on this list are either not listed rightfully, or in the minds of fans, they shouldn't even be on this list to begin with. But you kind of got to respect the fact that, yes, these lists are submitted by the players, and you kind of do have to respect that fact of, okay, well, at least it's not media saying this, or the so-called experts, you know, that like to call themselves that. You know, it's the players. It's the players that submit these lists. So you do have to kind of admire the fact, like, okay, well, it's players ranking other players. You can't really be mad at that because all in all, it's just a list. You know, it's nothing crazy. Nobody's going to win an award for being #1 on this list. It'll probably end up being Tom Brady anyway, so who cares? But, you know, I kind of like the fact that this is a list made by players for players. It's very interesting to me. But that is it for the NFL Weekly Roundup or something like that. I don't really know what we're going to call this series yet, but I do thank you guys so much for watching. I know if you're a Bucks fan, I hope you did enjoy this video. I know it's very different. If you're a general NFL fan, I'm sure you did enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this video. But if you're a Bucks fan and you do like this type of video, just weekly, you know, let me know down in the comment section below. I hope that you guys, you know, kind of enjoy seeing what's going on around the league, and I hope to keep you guys more updated on what's going around the league, as well as I try and just give you guys general information along with the Bucks information that I do every week. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you all enjoyed. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification to get notified every single time I upload a video. You know, like the video, comment on the video, share the video with your friends, you know, and as always, guys, I will see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.